from the country of Uganda, from the city of Kampala, and from the village of Makerere to tell you all a story. There was once a young boy, and his name was Ddungu. And Ddungu had a younger brother, and he and his younger brother worked the family business. Now, his family's wealth lay in sheep, and so they were sheep herders. And every day, Ddungu and his younger brother, their job was to gather the sheep, climb a mountain, and let the sheep graze on the mountain each day. Well, one morning, Ddungu's mother woke him up very early and she said, young Patrick is not feeling well. It's nothing serious, but I'm going to keep him home today just to make sure that he's okay. Now, what that means for you is you're going to have to go up the mountain by yourself, and we have every confidence that you'll be able to do this. Now, I'm not going to leave you alone, though. I am going to send you with the family drum. And this drum is so important because you know we do not allow children to use this drum. And so you're going to carry this, but you only use it under extreme circumstances. Got it? Yes, Mother, Ddungu said. And so with that, Ddungu hurried and got up. He got dressed and got ready for breakfast. His mother had made him some porridge, and he was eating his porridge. And as he ate his porridge, his mother had wrapped his lunch in cassava leaves and put it in a bag for him, along with some fruits and vegetables for him to eat on throughout the day. And as Ddungu got ready to leave his home, he was so proud. He walked off the land with his chest held high. He was so excited because he knew that his family trusted him, and what that meant is that they were seeing him as a young man now. And so he was quite excited. But as he gathered his sheep and he was on his way up the hill, he realized, without Patrick, this is really a little bit of a boring job. I mean, after all, young Patrick, he would tell his jokes to, and Patrick would laugh and laugh and laugh. And sheep, well, they go bah, 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 but they don't really laugh. And with Patrick, he would throw rocks off the side of the mountain to see how far they would go. And, well, sheep, they don't throw rocks. And so Ddungu was a little bored. But he made his way up the mountain, responsible young man that he was. He set the family drum down and he walked around and he checked the ground to make sure that there was no poisonous leaves or any type of vegetation that would harm the sheep. He looked behind the trees and in crevices to make sure that there were no animals that would come and prey on the sheep. And when he was satisfied that all was well, he let the sheep go and they grazed around for the day. And then he set about trying to figure out, how am I going to entertain myself today? Well, he picked up rocks and again he threw them to see as far as they'd go. He found an old stick and he was writing his name and other words and drawing pictures like the sun and the clouds and the dirt. And every so often he'd look around and he'd see the family drum and he'd want to play it, but he knew what his mom had said and he knew he shouldn't do it. And so he climbed a tree and he looked around to see as far as he could see. But then he saw the family drum and he decided, well, might not hurt a lot. So he climbed down the tree, he picked up the family drum, and he sounded the alarm. And he yelled, wolf, wolf, wolf. And then he goes over to the side of the mountain and he looks down, and sure enough, people came as far as the equator, as far as the source of the Nile, and all the way from the city of Kampala. And he realized, my drum and my voice have power. Wow, this is exciting. Until the elders got to the top of the mountain and they wanted to know, what is the matter here? You look well. The sheep look well. Why did you call wolf? And Ddungu laughed and laughed and laughed, and he said, I just wanted to see what kind of power my drum yielded. And I just wanted to know if my voice would carry enough to gather you all together. And I realized I've got power. Well, along about that that time, the eldest of the elders stepped out from the crowd and he said, Ddungu, this is a very bad thing you've done. You should not cry wolf when there are no wolves. We have jobs to do like you. Your job is quite important, true, but we have to fish to bring in food. We plow the fields to bring in vegetables. We chop wood to build our village up. Do not cry wolf when there are no wolves. Do not do that. And young Ddungu, he was so proud of his power, but he knew he needed to act as though he had been chastised. And so he lowered his head and he said, yes, elder, I will not cry wolf when there are no wolves. My apologies. And with that, the elders and the rest went down the mountain to go back to their individual chores. And Ddungu continued to look for ways to entertain himself. Once again, he climbed the tree. Once again, he looked to see as far as the eye could see. Once again, he threw rocks, and none of that really sufficed. And so, long about high noon, Ddungu decided, I'm going to see if it'll work just one more time. And with that, he picked up the family drum, he sounded the alarm, and he cried, wolf, wolf, wolf. And once again, he set the drum down. He goes to the edge of the mountain, and wouldn't you know it, once again, as far as the equator, as far as the Nile River, and all the way from the city of Kampala, people came. But this time, because it was midday, they'd been working all day, so they were a little slower, and it was hot outside, and so they had to stop and wipe their brow. They had to stop and take a breath. But finally, they made it to the top of the mountain, and Ddungu again was rolling around laughing. Oh my God, you should have seen it. You took forever to get up the mountain. Do you know I could have done that 2 or 3 times before you? Now, once again, the eldest of the elders was angered, and he stepped away from the rest of the crowd, and he said, young Ddungu, you do not cry wolf when there are no wolves. We have things to do. I have explained this to you. Do you understand? If this happens again, you will go before the council, and there will be serious consequences. You are a good boy typically, but this is a very bad thing that you've done. Do you understand? Well, now this time, Ddungu got the picture loud and clear. He knew, oh my goodness, he is angry with me. And Ddungu remembered once, long time ago, he remembered hearing tell of a young boy who had to go before the council for some bad thing that he'd done. And the consequence was that he would forever be considered a boy, never to be able to marry and have children, and never to be looked at with respect. And oh my, he did not want that for himself. And so, no matter how bored he was, he would not cry wolf when there were no wolves again. He told himself that. Well, once again, it was high noon. It was hot. Oh my gosh, it was hot outside. On that day, I believe it was about 110 degrees. Well, Ddungu thought I shouldn't play trick again, so I am going to go and sit under the shade of a tree and enjoy the lunch that my mom has prepared for me. And with that, he sat up under the tree, he opened up the cassava leaves, and he ate. And oh, Ddungu loved to eat. And the food was so good, but soon he became full, and his belly was full, and the sun was hot, and the shade gave just a little bit of a breeze, and before you know it, young Ddungu's eyes got really heavy, and he fell asleep. And he dreamed all sorts of crazy things. He dreamed of throwing rocks off the mountain. He dreamed of climbing trees. He dreamed and he even heard sounds in his dreams. He heard bah, bah, bah. Oh my, this was not a dream. Ddungu woke up only to discover that wolves were scattering his sheep everywhere. And so he picked up the drum, he sounded the alarm, and cried, wolf, 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 this time with much earnest. And he cried and he went and grabbed a stick and he tried to shoo the sheep away. But oh my, they were gone They were here, there, and everywhere, and the wolves, there were too many for just one Ddungu. And oh my goodness, all of a sudden it set in. Had I not done what I did earlier, maybe I would have had some help. Oh, how am I going to face my family? This is a bad thing that I've done. And with that, Ddungu sat on a rock and he sobbed and he sobbed and he cried. And then about that time, Ddungu was expected for his afternoon meal. And his mother began to get very concerned, and she said to Ddungu's father, "Something is wrong, I feel it in my spirit. My son does not miss my meals. I need you to go find Ddungu." And Ddungu's father agreed. I was beginning to be a little concerned myself. And with that, he went and he gathered the villagers as far as the equator, as far as the Nile River, and all the way from the city of Kampala. And they all gathered and they climbed the mountain for a third time that day. And when they got to the top of the mountain, Ddungu's father goes up to Ddungu and he says, "What quagmire is this? I don't understand. Ddungu, where are the sheep? Ddungu, why are you sitting here crying? Your mother is waiting for a meal for you." And Ddungu, really angered, he stood up to his father and he said, "Father, it is not my fault. I did what you and Mom advised. I picked up the drum, I sounded the alarm, I cried woof, 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 and nobody, not one person came to help me. And it was just me. I couldn't save all the sheep, and now they're gone away, and it is not my fault." Now, the villagers stood back and watched, thinking that father was going to deal with that. But the eldest of the elder, he would have none of it. He once again stepped away from the crowd and he said, "Ddungu, twice today you have cried wolf when there were no wolves. No one likes a liar. No one likes to be played tricks on. You should not be using this drum. This drum is special. It is made from the wood that comes from the village, from your own village, the village of Makerere. And that is one of the original 7 hills that the city of Kampala is built on. This is not a toy. Your mouth should not be used to tell lies. Do not cry wolf when there are no wolves. I hope you've learned your lesson." And Ddungu could only hang his head, and his father stepped in and he said, "Ddungu, the elder does not lie. I hope you've learned a very important lesson with all of this. Son, our wealth is scattered here, there, and everywhere, all because you cried wolf when there was no wolves. Now, all is not lost. We will get up in the morning. We will go search for what is left of the sheep and gather them and bring them back. But I do hope from this you have learned a lesson." And Ddungu assured his father, "Father, I have. You can trust in me. You can depend on me. I will not do this again." And with that, his father put his arm around Ddungu. They got to go down the side of the mountain and stepped on a pin. The pin bent, and that is the way the story went. Does anyone else have a story to live?